Hmm?
Hello dear student, today I am going to cover about ion channel ligand channel receptor. I have already discussed you in different classification of receptor in transaction mechanism. Receptors are five types: GPCRs, G protein coupled receptor, enzyme link receptor, ion channel ligand receptor, Jack state, and receptor which are helping in expressing of gene transcription. In previous video, I have already discussed about GPCR, that means G protein coupled receptor, and enzyme link receptor, how they are working, what are their example, how they are going to show their mechanism of action, what is the general diagram or general structure and specification, all that I have covered in previous videos. So today in this video I will going to cover a new receptor classification, that is ion ligand channel receptor. So in this board you can see I have easily show you one diagram by which you can understand easily what is ion ligand channel receptor and how it is going to act. So like previous and other receptor, that receptor also present into transmembrane. Suppose that is membrane, in that transmembrane receptors are present, that's why they are also called transmembrane receptors. And why they are calling ion channel or ligand, that I will discuss when I will go inside or deep into that topic. So just remember that is membrane, and in that membrane receptors are present. In that membrane, inner part is called as intracellular part where cytosol is present, and that is called as external of transmembrane. Here external organelles and other cells are present. So that is intra and that is extra. Now we are going to discuss what is receptor and how it is going to show its action by ion ligand channel receptor. Just suppose that is one receptor and that is one receptor. In that also, in previous receptor also I told they have two domain. One is intercellular domain, another one is extracellular domain. Same here also, both domains are present. So here just suppose that is receptor and ligand channel receptor. Now why it is calling as ligand or ion channel receptor? Because here in that site I have shown you one space or one site. Here one ligand will come and bind with it. That's why it is called as ligand channel ligand receptor, because here in external domain one ligand will come and will sit into that allosteric part of receptor in extracellular part. So it is called as ligand receptor. And in intercellular part where cytosol is present, there different channels, ion channel are present. What are their channels? Sodium channels are there, calcium channels are present, then potassium channels are present, chloride channel is present. When that receptor is present as their steady state or non-acting state, that time that channels are generally closed and all that ion can't be influx into that cell. So that time when that receptor is in steady form, the channels are remain closed and no ion can influx or can enter into that intracellular cytosol of that membrane. So to activate what that receptor will do and how that receptor will get excited, when we are taking any drug, in that drug which is containing ligand, that ligand will come and that ligand will bite into that allosteric site of receptor which is present into the extracellular domain part of that receptor. What is allosteric site? I have told you, in enzyme or in a receptor, one main site is there where that drug is going to come and sit, and another more site will be there, that is rather than active site. That rather than active site which are not active, that site is called as allosteric site. And that site which is more active and generally drugs prefer to sit or bind with, that is called as active site. And another site that is not as active as active site, that is called as allosteric site. So in that allosteric site, when that ligand is going to come and bind, that receptor is going to be activated. So I have already told you how ligand is going to bind with a receptor, that I have already told in the previous video. That ligand that will bind with a receptor by lock and key mechanism. I have discussed about different mechanism by which ligand or enzyme or some other intercellular physiological hormones and neurotransmitter are coming and will bind with receptors. Different theories are there, like here same ligand will come and it will bind with a receptor by lock and key mechanism. When that ligand is going to come and sit and bind with that receptor by lock and key mechanism, that receptor is going to be activated. When that receptor is going to be activated, the proteins which are present into the inside that intercellular part of the cytosol, that protein is going to activate it, and that protein is going to change its internal structure or their external structure, and that protein, by changing its configuration, that protein is going to be activated, and that leads to the activation of receptor, and that activation of protein and receptor is leads to the opening of channels. So whenever the protein is changing its configuration and going to be activated and receptor is going to be activated, that ion channels is going to open. So now when that receptor is in activated form, that channels is opening, then that time through that gates different ion is going to influx. So what are the ions which are going to influx? They are Ca2 plus calcium, they are potassium, sodium Na plus, chloride, etc. And it is when that all the ions is going to enter into that intercellular domain of or cytosol of the membrane, that whole cell is going to activate it, and it leads to the conversion or production or synthesis of intracellular signaling, and that intercellular signaling will show its action and will show its response. And you have to remember, ligand ion channel receptor is showing or always shows fastest response. So among all that receptor, G protein, ligand, enzyme link, ion channel receptor generally shows fastest response or faster response than any other receptors. And the sum of example which comes under or works as the ion ligand channel receptor, they are GABA receptor. In that GABA A and B is there. Generally GABA A comes under the classification of ion ligand channel receptor, and other receptors are also there, like serotonin or 5-hydroxytryptamine receptor are also there. In that 5H3, that serotonin 3 receptors also comes under classification of ion ligand channel receptor, and also the glutamate receptor, in that NMDA receptor are there, that receptor also comes under the classification of ion ligand channel receptor. So in brief, I am now telling how that ion ligand channel is going to work. That is a receptor. When it is in steady form, the channels calcium, potassium, sodium are closed. That time that receptor is going to inactivate. When ligand is coming and bind to the allosteric part of receptor, that receptor is going to be activated. Then that activation of receptor is promoting the activation or changes in the configuration structure of protein, and that protein also get activated. When the protein and receptor both are get activated by the addition of ligand, that leads to the opening of different channels present into the intercellular part of the membrane, and it leads to the influx or entry of different ions inside the cytosol, like calcium, sodium, potassium, chloride, etc. And that influx of that ion leads to the depolarization of cell, and this depolarization of cell is leads to the synthesis or production of intracellular electrical response, and that response is going to show the fastest reaction or faster action than the other receptors. And some of the examples that comes under ion ligand channel receptor are 5-hydroxytryptamine 3 receptor that comes under ion ligand channel receptor, then GABA A also comes under ion ligand channel receptor, and glutamate in that NMDA receptor also comes under ion ligand channel receptor. So by that I have finished up the details about the ion ligand channel receptor, how it is going to act, what is its simple structure, how it is going to show its mechanism of action, what are the different example and easy structure of ion ligand channel receptor. You can download my handwritten notes about ion ligand channel receptor from the description, that links is already given. So thank you. In that next video I am going to cover the next topic of J state receptor. For today it's okay. Thank you.